Hello, everyone, and good afternoon to those who are on the West Coast. Good evening to those who are back east, and I guess good whatever to those around the world awake somewhere in the middle of the night, including one of our panelists, Rick, who you'll get to meet very shortly. We are so glad that you're here to learn with us and learn how NFTs are changing our industry. And yes, we're here to learn. We don't profess to have all the answers, especially as something as complicated like NFTs, but we're here to scratch that surface so that we can all feel more knowledgeable by the end of this. And also, just as a suggestion, just early on, is like, if you can, play around with NFTs, go buy them and see how they work, because channel your inner kid, because just trying it is the best way to actually learn and try new things. And that's something that we definitely encourage, particularly when you learn all about it, particularly afterwards. Our panels, which we'll explain more about, are all about making our creative industry stronger. And we put these panels together to help create opportunities for attendees to learn. We also do them so that we can meet others and help each other out. So please feel free to introduce yourselves. Introduce yourself by stating your name, location, what you do, and put it in the chat. Not in the QA. The QA is where you ask questions to the panelists. Those you meet here may be your next business partner or a friend who can help you out, or even vice versa, where you can help them out. Also, if you like a chance to win a final draft somewhere, sorry, my phone's here, stay until the end where we'll be able to hand out a few, and thanks to Jen on that. Before we get into the introductions, which Jen will thankfully do very shortly, for those who aren't familiar with the business of creating panel series, and I'm sorry, we don't have it. Let me just share the screens here so that we could, can you see, oops, can we see, sorry, I've been putting it here. Let me share a screen. You see the screen here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So with the business of creating, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a panel series that we do with the Writers Guild Foundation. And here's just a quick intro on it. Jen and I actually co-founded this by helping women in film with our first panel in 2017 from a kernel of an idea that Jen actually had. And over the last 5 years, it has grown, and we've now done 25 panels. And thanks to all past attendees and many of you for your panel suggestions of what we should talk about. And thanks to friends of ours for being able to speak on these panels as well. As for past panels, as you can see, we touch upon various topics that impact our industry. Some of the panel topics we've done in the past include how to create trailers and sizzle reels, submitting to film festivals, importance of unit photography, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine because I always believe strongly in those, animation, and financing and producing. But all of this couldn't have happened without the Writers Guild Foundation. The WGF has been an amazing partner whom we're very thankful for. And I'll turn it over to Enid from WGF to explain more about what they do. So I don't know if Enid, you want to be able to take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm Enid Portuguez, Director of Communications and Events for the Writers Guild Foundation. We're excited to partner with the business of creating for another wonderful panel featuring entertainment executives. If you are new to the foundation, we are an LA-based nonprofit organization dedicated to the craft of writing for the screen. We offer services to the screenwriting community, such as a script library and archives, events with film and TV writers, and community outreach programs. For more info on what we do, please visit our website at wgfoundation.org and sign up for our weekly email newsletter for all our updates. I'll throw those links in the chat. Thank you so much for supporting the foundation, and we hope to see you again at more events. Back to you, Michael.
Awesome. Thank you, Enid. So what we wanted to kind of do is, you guys know obviously what this panel is about, and but before that, but definitely visit. But Enid, is the library open yet? Is it officially?
Unfortunately not, but hopefully soon.
Okay, but so when it does, I definitely recommend everyone go there in person. It's just a really incredible resource and location. So this panel came about due to the fact that in the news, there's been so much being talked about NFTs, like a lot. And it really came to the forefront last March when Mike Winkelmann who's probably, you know, as the digital artist known as Beeple, like he sold his artwork for $69 million, which is just crazy. I mean, like 69 million, right? And then since then, you know, you've been seeing this topic on NFTs constantly in our industry, entertainment industry news. News articles, as you can see here, you see many film stars who have gotten into this NFT universe. For example, the Wall Street Journal talks about how celebrities like Reese Witherspoon and Gwyneth Paltrow push for crypto sisterhood, where they create a cryptocurrency and like a social community targeting women. And this community is called BFF. If you like animation and want to watch cats getting stoned, then this article highlights in the headline Stoner Cats, the NFT series starring Mila Kunis, Ashton Kutcher, and Vitalik. For those who don't know who Vitalik is, Vitalik Buterin is a programmer who co-founded the cryptocurrency Ethereum. In addition to film stars, there are musicians and entrepreneurs like Dolly Parton, who announced at South by Southwest this year her own NFTs. You can see like the article here is called Welcome to the Dollyverse, Dolly Parton to drop limited edition NFTs. And she does it on her Web 3.0 platform, Dollyverse. And they offered exclusive selections of official and certified Dolly NFT collectibles, limited edition NFTs of their Run Rose Run music album, and a limited series of Dolly-inspired NFT artwork. But if you prefer metal rock to country, then you'll be glad to know that Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, unveiled earlier this year 9,666, get it, unique NFT bats, which is a knowing nod to this moment where he bit the head off of a bat in one of his like 1982, I want to say, concerts. So, you know, you've heard about film stars and musicians getting into NFTs. So you're probably wondering, how does this help you? You know, and this is where the panel is really getting to. You know, we're kind of saying stage of like, we're hearing all about this, but you're like, well, I'm not a celebrity, you know, I'm not a musician. Like, how does this impact me? You know, and how can I personally sell NFTs to make my project viable, or how can I sell them to actually distribute it? And if you look at these articles, and by the way, I'm going to put these links into the chat as well. But People Pleaser Shibuya video platform uses Ethereum NFTs to fund and shape films. And it's kind of part Kickstarter and part Netflix, and it lets users vote with NFTs to help fund films while also influencing storylines. So the first project is an anime-inspired web series called White Rabbit. And if you buy an NFT for it, for the web series, you can vote for what happens in the story, like choosing between the Witch of Two Doors, which you can see in this image here. There's two doors, you can go down these story arcs, you know, for the character to explore. On the right-hand side is where you read one of our panelists, actually Dave Cassidy on the panel. He talks about how DAOs and NFTs will be disrupting Hollywood. And I definitely recommend that you read these articles to really understand it more and figuring out how, like on the film side and the TV side, you can use them. And then these are definitely other two links that discuss in more depth about how crypto seeks to solve particularly like Hollywood's longstanding problems through the use of decentralized funding platforms. So with all of that, now we get to the fun part, you know, and this is where we get to meet the panelists and to explain NFTs and how to finance and distribute projects. My friends and my dear friend and co-founder of Business Creating, Jennifer Mangan, will kick it off and moderate the discussion. But just a first intro about Jen. Jen is a writer and producer who owns the independent production company Beautiful Day Productions. Beautiful Day Productions focuses on material that uplifts and empowers women through comedy and sci-fi and fantasy. After graduating with distinction from UCLA Extension in Business and Management and Entertainment, Jennifer co-founded and produced the Women in Film mini upfronts, promoting female content creators via red carpet industry screenings of trailers and sizzles for unproduced projects, which is actually how we actually got to meet, you know, which is a story for another day. Currently, Jennifer's sci-fi fantasy television show, Animal Magnetism, is in development with executive producer Randy Greenberg, and Randy is known for the Meg franchise, A Tale Dark and Grim, and Cowboys and Aliens. But a warm welcome to Jennifer for moderating this. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody, for coming today and wanting to learn about such an amazing topic. And look who we've got to hear. You know, we can listen to all these amazing experts. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome. I'm looking first at the amazing Tim Glover. Everybody, round of applause for Tim. Tim is the CEO of Chronicle, the next generation digital collectibles marketplace, featuring officially licensed digital collectibles, or NFTs. Chronicle makes it easy for anyone to buy, sell, trade, and gift authenticated digital collectibles directly licensed from the world's leading brands. Chronicle is also known for being eco-friendly, everybody, a near and dear cause for my heart. They are utilizing the Aurora EVM, which is built by Near Protocol, known for their environmental awareness. They are a proof of stake driven technology and committed to reducing their carbon footprint with a tree planting offset program. As the CEO of Chronicle, Tim is responsible for the creative vision of the company and works tirelessly to ensure that fans have the optimal experience on their platform. Everybody, a warm welcome for Tim. Next up, we're coming from the writer and creator side, Dave Cassidy. Everybody, a warm welcome for Dave. Dave is a writer, animation producer, and founder of NextHollywoodDAO, which of course we know is the decentralized autonomous organization. NextHollywood exists to eliminate the middlemen and simply invite fans to directly support the projects they want to see get made through the purchase of the digital collectibles and NFTs. Ultimately, Dave's telling us the plan is for creators to pitch ideas to the DAO in order to secure their funding. We look at the function of HollywoodDAO as being a community-run treasury. Filmmakers would pitch to the DAO using the same package and talent that they would for any traditional studio or streaming business. They submit to that community, and the community, based on the governance tokens, would then get to vote on which projects get financed by the treasury. Okay, we know who's going to be getting a lot of emails tomorrow, Dave. So Dave is also a military and technology startup veteran, ex-missionary, and he's passionate about all things sci-fi and fantasy. Everybody around, warm welcome for Dave. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with the mood lighting letting us know it's the middle of the night, it's the amazing Rick Dugdale. Warm welcome for Rick. Rick is the president and CEO of the film financing and production company Enderby Entertainment. And he is also here today as the co-founder of VUELE, which is of course one of the premier platforms for collecting, watching, and trading exclusive limited edition feature-length films and collector NFT film content. Their first film, Zero Contact, was released in 2021 and stars Sir Anthony Hopkins and has made almost 6 figures, if I remember correctly, using 11 different NFTs. I'm excited to hear about this example. At Enderby Entertainment, Rick oversees all aspects of business, finance, and production, and spearheads the company's relationships with its worldwide community of financial partners. Everybody, a warm welcome for Rick Dugdale. And of course, last but not least, is my partner in crime, Michael Fisk. Michael is, of course, the co-founder of Business of Creating with me, for which I am always very happy to be working with you. And now Michael, as we know, is a senior marketing executive in entertainment, having spearheaded over 450, that's right, 450 marketing campaigns for studios such as Sony, Lionsgate, NBC Universal, Warner Brothers, and currently for MGM. James Bond.
Who?
Yeah. What? Have you heard of that? So indeed, fun fact, his favorite marketing campaigns that he's worked on recently are James Bond franchise. He's worked on The Last 6, La La Land, and most recently House of Gucci and Licorice Pizza. So we're running the gamut on, all kinds of films. Michael, of course, also runs Intermark Strategy and Consulting, focusing on helping filmmakers, producers, directors, and distributors with long-term marketing and strategy. His passion, as we all know, is making your passion project succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome for Michael and all of our panelists. Let's learn some amazing information about NFTs. Okay, so yeah, we've mentioned this briefly. So the quick overview, what is an NFT? Somebody help me. It's a cryptocurrency. What else do I need to know? Take it away, my panelists, please. Tim, can you tell me more about what is an NFT? Why is this important to me? Why can't I just tell me what it is. And then also, well, what's the difference between this and doing a crowdfunding, a traditional Kickstarter or some such as that?
Best way to think of an NFT, I think, is a little bit of like a digital certificate of authenticity. So if we look back to certainly my youth days of collecting sports cards, basketball cards, trading cards, you would kind of trust that the collectible cards that you received were, card number 5 of 50,000 or card number 20 or 50,000. And that they were officially licensed. And, kind of if I went to trade those cards with someone else, they would kind of, trust that I had the genuine card. What NFTs are is it basically allows us to take that into the digital realm or the digital space. And, the advantage, of NFTs is that basically it's media or a digital file that's linked to the blockchain. Very quick summary of what the blockchain is. This is basically an open ledger that allows anyone to authenticate and verify that, yes, this is the correct copy of the file. And yes, I can trace back the original author right through to anyone that's ever had it in its inception. That comes with many, many benefits aside from security, but one of the great things I think that it allows for the purpose of this panel, obviously, is that for example, if I have an NFT, I can on-sell that, and then the copyright owner of that NFT can basically have a residual or a royalty for the next 10,000 years. Unlike if I produce a toy line, and put a toy on a toy shelf, you might go and buy that toy, but as soon as you put that toy on eBay, the author of that doesn't see anything. That completely changes with the NFT industry.
Yeah, and can I just say, Jen, that's part of the reason why, for me, being in the industry, why I really like it is because you actually see that, like, that ownership. It's very much more transparent, of like whether the fan, it's from a fan perspective who kind of help invest in NFTs within the projects, but also as the owners of the IP, and so that it's you don't have to go through like layers of lawyers, you don't have to go through layers of accountants, right? It's so much more transparent where everyone can see where it goes, and then it goes down this long chain. It could go for years, where years later it's very clear you, Jen, own this. So you as a content creator, it gives you more of the power.
Okay, so I like the clarity of that. And it sounds kind of like a similar thing to do when you're trying to do like chain of title, as far as like, this is my script or this is my project. Am I understanding that kind of similar, sort of a parallel, if you will? Because I think a lot of us here understand more what a chain of title is. And if not, all right, fast forward to this part, Yeah, Dave, yes.
I think that's, I actually think chain of title is a great way to think about it, right? Like if you go to buy a property or house, obviously the industry, you write a script, you come up with an idea. How do we know that you own the house or you own the script? Mm-hmm. Now in the house case, there's a court of clerks in every county or every city that records all the deeds, and they're holding the quote unquote chain of title to see, who purchased the house on what date and time, and they're verifying all that. As Tim kind of so brilliantly said, on the blockchain, that's all done publicly, transparently, authenticated, and visible to the community. So I can go on Etherscan and go see, okay, Tim minted this NFT on March 28th, 2022, and then Michael went and purchased it on March 29th, and I can see the transaction. I can see how much it was. And so when I go to purchase from Michael, I can literally go and see the transaction history, the quote unquote chain of title, recorded on the public blockchain, and anyone and everyone has access to it. And so I think the chain of title analogy is a really good one.
I would just add, I think it also says, it's a global thing, right? Is that everyone globally is speaking the same language. Everyone can see it. And it's kind of like your reference with the toy shelf, is that once you sell this DVD, there's never going to be the end of the line. If you sell a DVD, it sits on your shelf. It's kind of the end of it. Whereas now you have this NFT that can keep turning over. Somebody else can buy it years from now. And the rights holders are always going to benefit from a financial gain, ultimately from that forever.
Excellent. It reminds me as well, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but it's similar to me as far as like, buying and selling stocks on the stock market. and we're even, having the DAO there earlier. So, as far as like, you can keep buying and selling and trading, and the value of the NFT may also go up and down. It's not simply $10 or $1 million. It can go up and down as well.
Yeah, I think a good practical example is that I find a lot of people that were first into the NFT community were collectors in the physical world. So they bought Jordan sneakers, or they had Pokemon cards, or they bought Topps trading cards, right? Where there is kind of a general collection you can buy, but then there's a very rare edition, right? Now there's different platforms, GOAT and other ones where you can go buy a limited edition of a sneaker. In the same way, right? The value of anything can go up because of the scarcity of it. Now, there's no guarantee that just because you buy a scarce NFT, that the value will go up. I think I saw something recently that said a third of all NFTs released, the value is higher now than the floor price when it was minted. Basically, the value has gone up. A third is about the same, and a third is down. So I don't think there's any guarantee or any financial promise of the value of the NFT going up, but it's certainly a possibility. You may buy a pair of sneakers or Pokemon cards or trading cards because you really like them. And they also may increase in value, but there's certainly no guarantee that it would.
I think you have to look at it too, that it's a bonus if it increases in value. You might just want to wear the sneakers. You might just want to enjoy the Pokemon cards, right? So you can be able to, enjoy the film and all the things that come with it in our case, or the transparency and the benefits of the filmmaker and the owner and the rights holder, the creator of it. If it goes up in value, it's almost an additional aspect to it. I think a lot of people are looking at NFTs as strictly an investment, but I think the future is being able to use it and the utility of blockchain for distribution, which is exciting.
Absolutely. And I wanted to just jump right in, Michael, with part of our next slide, which we mentioned earlier, is, hey, yeah, it is becoming highly regulated. It's kind of the Wild West. So please, 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 please consult your legal representative to make sure you're doing it properly. That's kind of, we're not lawyers, so we're not going to dive deep into that part, but yes, make sure you do your due diligence and talk to your attorney or whoever legal rep that you have, and make sure that they are fluent in NFT.
Yeah, it could be an entire separate panel discussion, which we won't go into. Yeah, we won't do it here.
Okay, so yeah, when we were talking about earlier, just kind of a couple of basics. So why is why is doing this NFT? And I love that we have 3 very different versions of NFT people here. We've got the, starting with your script for Dave here with the Hollywood Next, getting the funding for it. We have VUELE, Rick, talking about like, oh, okay, we're actually producing our own films and putting them on this site for distribution. And then Tim is coming at it from more of the marketing angle, if you will, as far as like, oh, we're actually licensing. And I loved that puppy bowl thing that we're going to show you all later. It was so adorable. We're going to have to stop there and just go, oh my God, that's so cute. So I love that we're getting 3 very different angles on this subject. So thank you. And Michael coming from the studio perspective on that as well. But so why do I want to do an NFT versus the more traditional Kickstarter, GoFundMe, something that's not include, something that I might feel more comfortable with, that's been around a bit longer, that seems more familiar to a lot of, the hoi polloi.
Yep.
Sorry, y'all, it is just kind of a roundtable discussion. So I kind of
I think a good way to think about it, and I would like to briefly touch on the securities thing, because I do think there's not a lot of information out there, and I think it's important for us to share what we know, with other people. And we're fortunate enough that we have really strong, one of the probably the best firms in Web3 and kind of crypto and NFTs. I think the base for the security is you don't want to be out there for your film, for your short film, for your TV series, promising financial gain or reward for your NFT or royalty or fractional ownership. The SEC hasn't decided definitively, but it is likely, that we understand that all those things will be considered securities offerings. So not illegal per se, but they would have to be registered as securities. I think it's critical that for people getting the film NFT space, they offer it, as Rick said, just as a reward for its own value. You buy a Pokemon card or sneaker because you like it, not because you necessarily think the value will go up. So I think it's important that people kind of understand that a little bit. In terms of how it's different than I think than a Kickstarter or GoFundMe, I mean, I think, right, you find that a lot of the Kickstarter campaigns, they end up spending a ton of their money from the rewards, just to fulfill the rewards. So whether it's t-shirts or some other kind of good, instead of taking the lion's share of the campaign and using it directly to finance the film or the TV show, et cetera, they're now spending 50, 60, 70% of the budget just to fulfill the rewards. One of my close friends and mentors did one of the biggest projects in Indiegogo, $3 million they raised on Indiegogo for their film, and he would never do it again, to be honest. And it was just such a nightmare in terms of fulfilling the rewards. In the case of an NFT sale, the NFT is its own reward. So the sale of the NFT, you've already given the fans a reward. Now there's other utility that can be provided in terms of access and community and utility. And I'm sure Tim and Rick can dive into those.
Sorry, go on, Rick.
Well, I was just going to say, you bring up a great point, Dave, about the, the SEC and what we know and what we don't know. And I think it's fascinating because people just assume by making an NFT product of their film that they're trying to launch and finance, they just assume there's guaranteed value there. But at the end of the day, you still need to complete a film, make it available, execute ultimately. Otherwise, you are just becoming a penny stock trying to launch something, right? So that's a great point that you point out there. I mean, for us, we focus on film distribution and the final product. But I think you are looking at when people are going into making a film, people are going to start to need to think of, what do I need to capture while in production, in order to make this an NFT and to separate it from just a traditional film.
If I can jump in really quickly, I thought that was a great point, because Michael, that's something you always say, because I'm like, yeah, when should we get people involved in this? When do we need to think about how to create that NFT? Or as Michael and I always talk about, when do you start the marketing? Yesterday, you should have started thinking about that. So I think that's a great point to bring up, that you're going, yeah, no, start thinking about it pre-production, ideally, so that you're not suddenly caught out going, uh-oh, now we have to go back and try it again.
Just adding to the discussion, I think, when I think of the most successful NFT projects out there, things like that you probably all heard of, Bored Ape Yacht Club or CryptoPunks, it's as opposed to the traditional sort of Indiegogo funding methods. I know that if I participate in supporting a project, that now all of a sudden, not only do I have something officially licensed that's unique to me, I basically have something that supported the project that may provide me utility later, but I'm now actively part of a community. I know, if in majority of the cases, most of the projects would have something like a Discord set up, and it's just one of these things where basically you just watch this community grow, and you know who your peers are, and I think from there, support, you can basically kind of see how the project is going firsthand. You can basically come up with ideas around the utility of the NFTs that you have. I think that's certainly a key difference. I think people that would generally back a project by obtaining an NFT will feel much closer to the project as opposed to otherwise.
And I just say also, for those who are not as familiar with Discord, and Dave and Rick and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's definitely, as you're right, that's where the communities are based. It's sort of like, more of the modern version of like a Facebook group, right? But people are going to Discord, particularly when they're wanting to discuss, around these fan NFTs, right? And that's where you're seeing a lot of this discussion, but you have to typically be invited to those. But is that fair to say? Because it's like, I know most of my friends are not part of Discord, but I definitely recommend for those who aren't familiar with it to sign up, right? And then actually see what Tim is talking about, because then you'll really understand how it's more of like this really more intimate group, right? So that you don't really see in other platforms.
It's definitely where you build your community, certainly. I think the NFT space, it's that, there's a lot of support for each other. It's kind of, anti what we're dealing with in social media these days. A lot of people talk about piracy and how does that, if it's an NFT, does just enable piracy. But the reality is when you feel part of something, and you own this NFT that we're witnessing with VUELE, is that people won't torpedo the value of their own NFT. So you're not really seeing a thing, people pushing to piracy, but it's a whole psychology shift that people feel such, part of this ownership. Imagine if you were, joined the Lord of the Rings NFT group, if we actually had NFTs for them 20 years ago, and you get given a piece of wardrobe from the set. On day one, it gets sent to you in the mail. Now you feel like you're all wearing the same costume as the actors and the crew members. It's such a community builder. You feel part of something. It's so different than what we've seen before.
Is it okay, Rick and Jen, can we show that example of the zero contact?
Yes, please. That'd be
Okay.
great.
So we'll do that. Here. Oops, sorry. I want to do slideshow. Sorry, done. Slideshow. Okay. Rick, do you want to just talk a little bit about this, and I'll go to the next slide as well?
Sure. So this is a film that came together during the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, we all got on a think tank and said, well, how do you make a film if you can't be in the same room together? And so we fortunately work all around the world. We call our partners internationally and came up with a storyline that said, well, we could actually make a go of this remotely. So we use Zoom as a device to stand on set. We shot with essentially real cameras with all the actors in all these different places. Yes, we did a company move in the middle of the night from Japan to Serbia to Germany, which is the biggest company move I've ever done. But the outcome of the film, when we looked at it, was, started off being a little experimental, but once it was completed, we said, well, wait a second, there's something unique here. The storyline also, it walks the line of blockchain as well. And so it was organic to explore what we could do with blockchain distribution. We'd already been playing around with it a little bit. We worked with our partners at CurrencyWorks, which is a fintech company for developing business models like this. And we came up with a strategy to actually release the entire film as an NFT. So from there, we formed VUELE and started, coming at it from a filmmaker's perspective and what are the benefits that VUELE and NFT release could offer, really leading with fan engagement, community building from its inception. So from there, we released the first 11 copies really as a billboard on OpenSea in September to kind of test it out. And it was fascinating to see the people who bought the first 11 NFTs, all the inclusions, which I can get into and how that separates itself from other film releases. And from there, we've launched the sequels, which is why I'm in Jordan scouting, actually.
And do you mind, here's what I found really interesting too, is that, Rick, you've already, this is an example of using NFTs to help more of I guess, distribute the film, because you already got the financing to produce it and you made the film, right? Is that correct to say?
Yeah, exactly. The film was completed. So we actually held all the cards so we could explore, and obviously wearing two hats as the filmmaker and the head of Enderby is that, we were able to kind of have the leverage. We weren't, at the mercy of a distributor, a financier. The film was done. And so rather than show it to traditional distributors, we said, well, wait a second, let's try this new thing. And that's what we did.
And then I'll just show it to the next slide. Do you mind explaining if you bought an NFT, what do you get?
Yeah, so you have different, and every release on VUELE, every film that's going to be distributed, it's going to have a different life cycle on a different drop schedule, different cost base. And so with this, we launched the first 11, had all different inclusions that won't be in the drops on VUELE, including being able to reshoot yourself into the film, which is fascinating. But for these on VUELE right now, you get everything from, digitally signed poster to early access to the making of. And in this case, what I find the coolest thing is that these are like the collectible baseball cards. So you get randomly selected character bios. You'll see the ones here with Trevor Williams, Hakan Nordqvist, and Riku Matsuda. These are generated once you click purchase, and there's scarcity. So some of the Anthony Hopkins character is going to have less. You won't know which ones you're going to get until you click purchase, and they're randomly minted at that point. So
I didn't get Anthony Hopkins, so I'm going to try to get that one.
You might need a few copies of the film, Mike.
Yeah.
And then you can trade them and sell them once you get 3 and all of that. So
exactly. And then you put them up in the marketplace. You can put all of these elements up on the marketplace. And for those, who don't understand that, it is like an eBay, it's an aggregator like OpenSea, but in this case, the VUELE marketplace is anything inside your digital wallet on VUELE you can list on the marketplace for sale. So when any film is released on VUELE, they'll be scarce, there'll be a certain number. Once those are maxed out, the only way to get it would be on the secondary market, thus creating profit share for the rights holders in perpetuity on the marketplace.
Cool.
Wow, fantastic. What I'm really enjoying hearing, Rick, from you is that, okay, and that was one of our, questions is, well, why would it make sense to do the NFTs, even if we don't have a celebrity star or a celebrity backer on it? And, how extravagant do these NFTs have to be? And so I'm loving the whole, digital baseball card type of thing that we're talking about, because, well, that's doable. So it seems that it can run quite the gamut of possibilities. So I think that sounds great, especially if you're looking, for something more of the independent creator to be able to maximize their possibilities with that.
Well, what I'll add is, I think obviously you can, Dave and I seem to, we could team up. You could pitch Dave for the financing, you pitch us for distribution, seems like a happy marriage. What you're seeing from distribution, from the standpoint, what works. And we're looking at all kinds of films, and we hope to roll out 30 to 50 films per year on the platform.
Oh, wow.
But it's either you need profile, right? So you need, just like any film distribution, you need major stars, you need, something that's going to garner eyeballs, or the 3 C's, and that is cool, culty, and collectible. And those are elements that, whether it be, a film from the, 1920s, Oscar winner, that has elements to it that no one's ever seen before, that we can NFT and put up on the platform. So you could be a collector of, Citizen Kane or whatever film that is, but you're seeing clips that are, it's behind the scenes or the making of, or the bonus features on steroids at that point. And so those are things that are going to be interesting to the NFT space on VUELE, or you're just going to see the next James Bond movie as an NFT that you might see 60 days before it comes out in theaters. Michael, that'd be great if you could set that up. A lot of options.
Yeah.
We all get to learn and network with each other. I love this. And so, Tim, obviously you're going to end up doing the branded content after we have gotten all the hot cash from Dave and we've secured distribution from Rick. We're going to have Tim come in to create, additional NFTs that are officially licensed.
Yeah.
And
can we, Dave, can we have Dave talk about, because, Rick talked about like the NFTs, once you have the project done, right? Like, but then,
exactly.
A lot of the attendees here, are writers, or producers with new projects. And they're like, wait, I don't have it done yet. Like, how do I get my NFT done
how
there?
and when do I start? Give me the roadmap for it so I can follow it. Absolutely. And in fact, somebody just wrote, they're putting in there, can we please have everybody's contact information? Oh, y'all, they're on LinkedIn. They're on LinkedIn. Love you. Love how you are being proactive.
Yep. And I don't know if Dave, you wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what he's doing with TimeRect and even Next Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, like you said, for Rick, you had a finished film, and we've seen that with some of our friends who work on different projects where they've been able to complete a film and then use NFTs as a way to build that community and distribution, which goes back to that earlier question about how is this different than an Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign. In some cases, the financing is already complete, like in Rick's example, and the NFTs are kind of a novel way to build community. In our case for TimeRect, this is a show that Dave Steinberg, who's done, him and his wife Kichi did No Good Nick, which had two seasons on Netflix. He wrote American Pie 2, Puss in Boots, etc. So he's had kind of a 20-year plus career here in Hollywood. And this show's actually in turnaround from YouTube Red. So YouTube Red was planning to pick it up at some point. They unfortunately got shut down. So you hear how a really high quality prestige level project, for one reason or another, wasn't able to get across the finish line. And let me tell you, there's so many projects like that in Hollywood that are kind of stuck in turnaround, where they were great projects, but for one reason or the other, they didn't get across the finish line. And that's where you think NFTs can be another great way. So for TimeRect, this kind of, Game of Thrones meets Rick and Morty, this family travels back in time and gets stuck in the kind of the medieval era, and have to use kind of their technology and wits in order to kind of help and be involved. Folks like Kelsey Grammer was attached, Kirsten Ritter, Alexis Bledel, et cetera, when it was being set up at YouTube Red. And so we're launching this campaign in the next month or so, really kind of the next couple of weeks, and fans will be able to buy an NFT that will give them access to the content that's created. So we won't have to wait for it to be on like a Netflix or something like that. They'll be able to watch it. If they purchase the NFT, they also get access to Dave and Kichi and some of the other creators behind the show and really have true community. Already in Discord, Dave has been in there answering people's questions and doing Twitter AMAs. And I think that's what's really exciting about this world, is that for so many years, right, like you hear about a film and you see the trailer drop, and that's kind of it. You don't have a chance to participate unless you are Michael Fisk and you work for the studio. So you don't have a chance to participate in the film being made. And now with a lot of these NFT Web3 film projects, fans truly get to participate in the creation process of the film or the TV series.
And do you want to just talk a little bit about like NextHollywood? Like what's the plans for that?
Yeah, basically the base platform behind NextHollywood, the basic idea is that, like, I see a lot of questions in here. Aren't NFTs costly to build? Tristan asked, how can we kind of build NFTs? A lot of questions are about how to even really create them. We realized very early on, to be honest, that we were inspired by people like Rick, people like Stoner Cats, what Ashton and Mila did with Stoner Cats, Aku Dream, in Aku's world, what Michael Johnson did, a former MLB player. But we realized that most people don't have the technical savvy or know how to launch their own NFT collection in a very kind of strong and powerful way. The equivalent I could give this to, we're kind of in the MySpace era of NFTs and kind of the GeoCities. Imagine if you had to kind of create your own website versus just going on Indiegogo or Kickstarter or going on Facebook or Instagram. You just go create your own Facebook or your own Instagram, your own TikTok. You don't have to learn how to code HTML in order to have a web presence. So we wanted to build a platform with NextHollywood where creators and filmmakers can come create both kind of major kinds of NFT tokens, ERC 1155, which is kind of a semi-fungible token, and then ERC 720, which is the classic NFT token, the non-fungible token, and creators without knowing how to code and without knowing how to do smart contracts can launch their NFT collections on our platform. And we're actually just struck a partnership with MoonPay so that people who launch on our platform won't even have to have crypto wallets, both on the creator side, but then also the fans won't have to have crypto wallets to purchase the NFT. MoonPay has the ability to do direct NFT purchase, which means with your credit card or debit card, you could buy the NFT directly instead of having to figure out how to set up an NFT wallet. So we're really excited. I mean, we just kind of want to build that open platform where filmmakers are going to be able to launch their own NFT collections from. To highlight something Rick said real quick though, I think, and I saw this question here too about, how do you get attention for NFT campaign? Like, NFTs don't recreate human psychology and human sociology. Obviously if you see Anthony Hopkins in a film, that's a name. If you see Daniel Craig in a film, you know who Daniel Craig is, he's been in James Bond for 5 films, who he is. So of course that person is going to be able to attract more attention. NFTs don't defy the laws of human physics, as I like to say it. And so it's always going to be a tougher climb for people who don't have stars or really known talent attached, just as it is in the traditional system, because obviously the stars have their own fan base and they can drive traffic to the NFT collection. On the other hand, though, we have seen successful NFT collections where filmmakers have raised $1 million plus without having notable or famous Hollywood talent on there. So there are definitely exceptions that prove the rule, but that's kind of why we're building NextHollywood.
Yeah. Can I just say also what I think you brought up, and also Rick and then Tim, there's some things that you guys are able to show is very often there's like, people look at this as very much, you have to be a tech expert to be able to get into that. And I think, initially you did, trying to create a crypto wallet, to get a cryptocurrency, to then buy an NFT, like truthfully, most of the people are never going to do that, right? And making it really seamless and easy to do. Like Rick, I thought it was really important what you guys were able to do is like you had the option of purchasing NFTs through the credit card or through crypto, right? And Dave, you're talking about NextHollywood making that an easy thing. And I think Tim, that's where your entire company was really around, being able to be able to say, look, you don't have to be an expert in it. You're like, I love being able to play around with NFTs, collect them, be part of it, but without having to be, to be able to open up a crypto wallet and then get a 12 word code that you have to kind of print up and save and put in a safe and hopefully you never lose it, right? Type of thing, right? That's what you guys have definitely been about. But before we get to Tim's ideas, but I think Rick, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I mean, that's a good point that people bring up, is that, you know, it's a very noisy space right now. There's so much going on. You know, there's so many people wanting to get into it, but, you know, obviously trying to learn as much as you can. I always like, people shouldn't be scared. You know, there's a lot of people that say, well, hey, this VUELE thing, great, I'm going to check out your movie, but I'll do it on the weekend when I have more time to set up my account. Because if it's like Kraken and Binance and it's daunting and scary. And as I like to say, my mother signed up and purchased an NFT in 60 seconds, right? And in order for mass adoption to happen, because as a filmmaker, this is what we want. We want this to be not disruptive. This is a revenue stream that never existed, right? So it's just another way to watch your film. So for mass adoption to happen, it can't be all crypto. And I see somebody ask the question, is this all crypto? It's not. You can use a credit card. We actually use Coinbase, and that's to do with KYC and AML, that Coinbase does the vetting for us. But you can use a credit card, you can use a crypto payment on Coinbase in 60 seconds. That is how mass adoption is going to happen. This is the future. This isn't some foreign land that not everyone's going to have access to. And that's why we're trying to just keep it simple. It's not that scary. Just take some.
Is it okay, like, and with that, like Jen, you alluded to puppies before.
Yeah, of course I
Should we get into?
Of course I did.
Should we get into that?
Absolutely. So yeah, Chronicle, Tim, please tell us more. Officially licensed NFTs from some of the biggest brands there are.
Well, yeah, I think Rick just summed up what you know, his company and our company are, you know, saw the opportunity with. You know, Chronicle was incepted around this time last year. Michael, I was kind of laughing when you mentioned Beeple's $69 million art piece, because I remember that period vividly. That's kind of when we were building up the brand for what Chronicle was going to become. And we identified two needs. Basically, we wanted Chronicle to be a Web3 media company with two arms, a creative arm and like a tech arm. The two opportunities that we saw were that big brands and, you know, everything from entertainment right through the pop culture brands to toy companies to game companies. You know, they wanted to get in on this space, but they didn't necessarily know how to navigate. So the slide that you presented a little earlier with that great big list of items around copyright and licensing, that could be another panel, we wanted to try and help bridge some of the gap for some of those brands, as well as, you know, not every brand had a animation studio per se. Half of Chronicle is an animation studio. So we wanted to be able to create content based on the brands that we onboarded into Chronicle. From the user perspective, you know, pretty much the same story Rick described, that, you know, we basically identified that, you know, to expect someone that's not familiar in this space to be able to get onto Binance, buy Ethereum, transfer it to MetaMask, pay a $50 transaction fee for a $20 collectible, it didn't make any sense. And so we wanted to take away some of that pain. I loved Rick's example again of, you know, mentioning how easy it was for a family member to buy it. That was pretty much our premise. We wanted this to be like, yeah, my mom, my grandma, my aunt could you know, my grandpa could buy a collectible within a couple of minutes. And that was kind of the premise of Chronicle and why we created it.
Do you want to, can you give the two examples that we have there? Like, and what was the premise behind it? And, you know, was it more for marketing? Was it to raise money? You know, if you can kind of talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we're very proud of the fact that although we're a relatively new platform, we were the first NFT company in the world to get the attention of the Discovery Group, which owns Animal Planet. If you're familiar with the Puppy Bowl series that comes out on the day of the Super Bowl annually every year in the US, they wanted to do something with us around their Puppy Bowl series, and we jumped straight on the opportunity. But a couple of things about this. Number one is that we saw an opportunity to do something for charity. So we actually, us and Discovery teamed up with Ariana Grande's charity. If you're familiar with them, they're based in LA. They're an animal rescue shelter called Orange Twins Rescue. And so a percentage of the proceeds from the sale of these adorable collectible NFTs went to support that charity. kind of on a digital sports collectible card nature, we created digital collectibles of each of the puppies. I think that there were basically 2 teams, and it was a lot of fun. And coming back to the point, I guess, about building community, but then going a step further and having a purpose behind the NFTs, what we were actually able to do on Chronicle is, after kind of the main round of collectibles were distributed, we had an auction element, and we gave away, I think it was the most valuable pup of the day and the winning pup of the day. We did those as 2 auctions, and the winner of each of the auctions, and again, thank you to Discovery and Animal Planet for offering this. The winners of of either of the 2 collectibles actually get to be on next year's Puppy Bowl in the audience. So a really fun, unique piece of utility that previously probably wasn't really possible, or at least wasn't thought of in this manner. But we're actually able to offer it through our connection with the brands.
And then
yeah.
people, I have a question, so people have bought them and they trade them as well, and they're just, and collecting more. Okay. And then probably also the winners, it's probably easier to track them down a year later too, right? Because if they have to keep, do they have to keep the NFT, like, or whatever it is, or is it?
It's up to them. Like, again, yeah, you in theory, yes, you could kind of own that NFT, and then if someone else really wants that opportunity, you could sell the rights to that with the NFT. So yeah, it's completely open to the market. But we wanted to create something, again, that easy email registration, Google sign up, you can use a credit card. We spent about 3 months going through a bunch of compliance just to enable Circle USDC safe crypto integration, and we did all of that just so that people could have a very pleasant experience joining Chronicle.
That's what Jen, that's what we'll do, those NFT for the final drafts will be NFT versions of it. That's what
There we go. There we go. This is your cover of, final draft.
And background to I'm Your Man, an independent film that came out of Germany, from Bleecker Street in New York. This was actually our first digital collectible ever on Chronicle, and it kind of goes against the narrative of the discussion. This was a free NFT. And again, it's something that you can do. We actually ran this as a sweepstakes, so to promote the film. So the idea here was that we took the one sheet, the film poster, which was, if you're familiar with the film, I believe Stevens has he's a robot and he has a mechanical heart. Our studio basically took that heart, recreated it from scratch for Bleecker Street for this NFT, and basically had it pumping. Fantastic piece of artwork, that was basically given away in a sweepstakes, and again, just something to help promote both the film, the cast, and our brand, Chronicle.
That's cool. By the way, it's a little interesting tidbit, by the way. It's like, Tim, like his the actor's German was actually really good. And Dave and Jen, if you see the film, because you both speak German, you can actually find out whether you understand it.
Yeah. Let's see how good that degree really is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, now let's just finish the panel in German, since 3 of us here speak German.
Exactly.
All right, but actually, Tim, I liked one of the points you were just making, where you were saying, hey, this was a giveaway to help promote. But Rick, I noticed that your NFTs for the Anthony Hopkins film, some were giveaways, some were purchase options. So I thought that was an interesting point to kind of go, oh yeah, wait, we can have some giveaways, we can have some purchase ones. And a lot of people are asking similar versions of questions in our Q&A, which kind of dovetails into this, which is, well, how much do we charge for these things, and what kind of price ranges can we expect, and how much, and Dave, you mentioned this briefly when you were talking about your friend crowdfunding, but what kind of actual money can we actually expect to see back from this? Are we talking 100,000? Are we talking, woo, I made 50 mil, my film is set? What kind of realities really are we looking at in that respect?
Yeah, and I just want to say I see all the at mentions. We'll make sure to follow all you guys that are following. I think Twitter, you'll find that Web3 and crypto lives on Twitter. So having a Twitter presence is a huge part of it. That's where people find out about NFT campaigns. They host Twitter Spaces. Hopping on Twitter Spaces is a great place to learn. I did drop a link for someone who asked a good resource to learn NFTs. And there's also, by the way, a quick question here. Someone asked, when we learned about NFTs, knew about NFTs for 18 months, but really only dived deep in them in August of 2021 of last year. And that was when I minted my first NFT and started collecting and whatnot. And I shared a link to one of the questions about how best to learn about it. In terms of the range, in terms of how much people are, raising from this, so, there's the Reg CF fund rules, which are interesting for crowdfunding, anywhere from 5 million to 75 million. And I think those numbers are pretty accurate, actually, right? I think 5 million is really, I don't think you're going to see a lot of NFT film projects unless they have Anthony Hopkins and like the top all-star cast, Daniel Craig, et cetera, and a James Bond IP. I don't think you're going to see many NFT campaigns raise more than $5 million from an initial mint, which is initial sale. And there's a project called Chosen, which is not an NFT project, but I think it's a kind of religious-based project. They've crowdfunded $40 million across 3 seasons. I feel like that's the upper limit, of what could reasonably be financed on, online and through social media and through NFT sales. I think you see Keepers of the Inn, which has done 1.5 million. You've seen Callavita, Miguel Faust. I know he's in town for NFT LA. We're excited to meet him in person. He's already raised a couple $100,000 for his film called Callavita. It was a short film, and now he's raising the feature film budget for it. He's in the middle of doing an NFT sale. He's raised a couple $100,000. So there's a number of projects out there. Stoner Cats, obviously, their animated series. Now it had Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, who are pretty well known actors. They raised, I think, the equivalent at the time of the sale was about $8 million worth of ETH. Went up to 13 million, depending on obviously if they converted to US currency. So I think the $1 to $5 million range is reasonable. Obviously, you're going to see outliers, but I think $1 to $5 million is reasonable for what 80% of NFT film projects could expect to try to raise if they have, as Rick said, all the right pieces in the puzzle.
I'll add to that too, Dave. Is that what you're seeing is that you're seeing distributors kind of come to us saying, well, if we do a TV license for $100,000, that's the downstream window that they still need to monetize for the films that they acquire. So VUELE is looking at that saying, well, we obviously did a test run on OpenSea with the first 11 just to see what the numbers are. How do you put a number? How do you value it? Is it going to sell for 5 million? We don't know. Every film that VUELE is looking at, it kind of goes through a process with a marketing team, just like any film would at a distributor, to say, what is the price point? What's the drop schedule? What's the drop count? And then that's how we assess, like, okay, we will acquire this film for VUELE, and these are the numbers that it could probably do. What's interesting though is that, some of these films with higher profile, speaking from a film finance perspective, is that gap financing kind of dwindling and having the ability to finance your movie becoming way more challenging. Companies like ours, maybe there's a partnership there, Dave, but there's something where you would actually pre-buy the NFT rights to a filmmaker's film. So if you're trying to do your film for $10 million and you got, your cast bring up 5 million in foreign pre-sales, 2 or 3 million in a domestic sale, and you got your tax credits, but maybe you want to shoot in a region that doesn't have tax credits. So you got to make up that 1 to 2 million that you normally would have in tax credits. Could you pre-sell NFT rights? Could you create NFT components that would now get you over the line and essentially be your gap financing? That's a whole other world that we're dealing with right now too, that I find exciting as a filmmaker. What is the price of your NFT? It's still the Wild West. We're looking at every film differently as to what the price point is, certainly. I will just add one thing, is that not every film will work as an NFT. If you're making an indie art house film that doesn't necessarily have global scale, these are things that we're looking at, stuff that works globally, because you need the reach. You want the reach that would actually have an NFT audience. There's many different parts of the world that are obviously big in NFTs. There's a lot of opportunity to finance your projects as filmmakers using NFTs, whether it be at the very beginning of it or when you have a completed film.
Now, is this also one of those things that you could be like, hey, okay, we've got half the financing. Okay, let's get started. And then we're going to do some NFT financing in the middle of it. And, you know, can we kind of mix and match as we go on?
As a producer, I'd say danger, danger, danger. Don't ever start a movie until you get all the financing in place, but you got to take risks. You know, that's the life of a producer, certainly. But, you know, I think there's, you know, you look at Zero Contact 2 and 3, you know, we started filming in Antarctica, which was also a first, and that shined a lot of light on the project. Part of the reason why we wanted to make sure we announced part 3 is because as a filmmaker, everyone wants to make a sequel, and you might make a sequel to, you know, to a little fanfare. But if you say part 3, which we're doing, you immediately establish a franchise, and you're basically creating a world, which we are. And so therefore, the interest in NFTs, you know, from the first film, you would essentially, you know, not only hope to increase the value, but the engagement and people wanting to be part of this universe because we are doing a trilogy, you know. So I think gamification and looking at films that work, and again, that indie art house film might not have a life as an NFT, but if that indie art house film is set in the future and there's some components that can gamify and build a world with using NFTs, I think that those are the best ones that will work by the looks of it.
And a side question on that as well. How long is an NFT campaign? How long does that take? Is that similar to like traditional fundraising, or is it a shorter period? How does that work out?
Well, you know, the NFT campaign, you have to look at, if you're referring to like releasing the film or trying to raise the capital, but a lot of people look at, you know, either it's a revenue stream that never existed, that's good for the rights holders and the distributor, because we're working with distributors who are trying to monetize and recoup the MG that they paid the filmmakers. Let's not forget, right? But what you're looking at is that there's studios that will make it part of their P&A campaign. So it's not necessarily tied to recouping or having a revenue stream. They might, if they're spending 20 million in P&A, this might just be, you know, somewhat of a throwaway to see what kind of market exposure you're going to create for the traditional distribution that they are also doing. Because again, it's not disruptive. This is a window that never existed. So you can have a Netflix film, maybe before it comes out on Netflix, you know, you could have an NFT play, or if you're dealing with a studio, you can have 60 days before a massive wide theatrical release comes out. It could be an NFT. You know, these are things that play into the P&A campaign. It's not all about, you know, creating revenue for them specifically. This is about fan engagement and having people being out there talking about it. It's another opportunity to create a billboard.
Can I say, just want to throw this out there because I'm seeing also in the Q&A, some people are asking about, you know, like quality of NFTs. And do you feel like from your experience, it's the type of NFT, the quality, or is it the quantity, or is it really like going back to the IP, like who it is? Like Rick, you're saying Anthony Hopkins probably is, well, Anthony, I think you have some of them because, well, he's more of a celebrity, but you have limited edition version of it. It's almost like a combination of like the quality, like whatever, it's the IP itself, whether it's big talent or it's the limits of how many are available, quantity versus the type of like what it looks like. You know, do you see the differences, or have there's any data that you guys have that shows what does better than others?
Well, what you're seeing is stuff that, you know, the world becomes a lot smaller in the blockchain space. And so you need something that is going to be appealing globally. At the end of the day, like we released a drop of 1, 10, 2,500, and 25,000 of Zero Contact. And at the end of the day, that's 27,511 copies of your movie. A moderate released movie around the world would have, you know, 2 million transactions. We're only selling 27,000. When you're talking about Vietnam or Saudi Arabia or the Middle East in general, you know, these are still high profile NFT targets. So when you're making your film, I mean, it's, this is a global market. It's not just the US audience. And so I think that's what makes it interesting to, you know, how to monetize it and what you can, how many you can actually sell. And just to finish it off, yes, scarcity, you know, people still feel part of that community, and there's only a certain number available that have all certain inclusions in different drops. They want to be part of that.
Cool, thank you.
Just
Okay.
quickly adding to DC's point, I think he just touched on something really important, and yeah, there's probably, when we talk about price, there's two things that we can think of. We can sell NFTs in US dollars, or in the decentralized world, yeah, you can raise money in Ethereum. Just a heads up that, you know, cryptocurrencies are quite volatile, so you may think, yeah, I've got $3 million today in sales. Tomorrow it might be 4.5. The next day it might be 1.5. It's so just, yeah, be careful of that.
That's a good point.
Absolutely. Wow, you guys, my brain is just percolating with all this information.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm so glad we recorded this.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I know, Jen, is there not maybe just time for another couple questions before I know for Rick, it's very late there, you know, so he probably wants to go to sleep. And
It's early. You're going to see the sun come up on the desert.
okay.
Here we go. So keep chatting, stretch it out,
Right.
everybody. We want
Right.
to see the sunrise. That could be the NFT for everybody here. So there's only, 200 copies available. I
Right.
love it. So a quick mention, a lot of the questions I was scrolling through, a lot of them, you guys are like talking about double minting and copyright infringement and blah, blah, blah. Again, legal stuff. So we're kind of acknowledging it and continuing on. So that's, we're not lawyers, everybody. We're not legal representatives. So just reminders of that. Yes. So sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no. So I know it's a little after 5. Do we want to go into the a couple more questions and then go into the final draft and closing it up?
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you. Yes, because I'm learning so much. So part 2, everybody, part 2 is definitely on our agenda. Just amazing. Yes. So do we have any other final points, everybody, that we wanted to discuss? Now's our opportunity on that one.
This is where we
I was going to say, I think ultimately what's really exciting about, NFTs and kind of the opportunity for filmmakers, and, you pitch an MGM, or you pitch kind of one of the major studios if you have a film or TV project classically, because there's only really a handful of players who can write a $20 million check for animated series or for your live action series or for your feature film. And I think what's exciting about NFTs is not that this is competitive against going and pitching a Disney or Apple or MGM even on your feature film or TV series. This is just another alternative. The pie grows bigger, and I think that's what's exciting. Whether it was our project Time Wrecked, which was in turnaround, and we see other projects that are in turnaround that NFTs give them a second life. Stoner Cats as well. Stoner Cats went out and pitched all the major studios and was rejected, and then through the sale of NFTs, now people who purchase Stoner Cat NFT are able to watch Stoner Cats. And so it got a second life through the sale of NFTs outside of the traditional system. And to me, that's what's so exciting about this world, is that you're going to give more filmmakers more opportunities to tell great stories. And number 2, I think for the community, the community really is the great utility. It's not the price going up of the NFT, which nobody can predict, and we'd be foolhardy to try. I think what's really exciting is that community, the thought that, hey, like, Dave Steinberg is in a Discord, is in a Twitter AMA, and I can ask him questions about writing a screenplay, or about how he goes through writer's blocks, or it doesn't even have to be related to the project specifically. But now I, as a community member, get access to these incredible filmmakers that I may not otherwise have gone before. I truly believe that this is a continuation of the world flattening during the pandemic. I came from tech before I got into Hollywood, and the idea of hopping on a Zoom meeting was totally normal, even in 2017, 2018. But obviously in LA and Hollywood, a lot of this was face-to-face. I got the chance to meet Michael through this panel a couple of years ago. And what the pandemic shifted was now a lot of the stuff that was in closed rooms and in private meetings, now you can hop on a WGF panel on Zoom, and you can learn from all these incredible people that you guys at Business of Creating bring together. I think NFTs is the next continuation of that, where the world is flattening a little bit more, and more people are going to have access to tell great stories in film and television and animation, even things we didn't talk about, books and video games and other forms of IP.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm really, really excited about that.
That's so true.
The one thing I'd add, just, this is a Writers Guild panel, is that, again, not every film's going to work as an NFT. And how do you put, when you put pen to paper, what story should I write today? Again, you're looking for roads to victory to launch your career if you're writing, or to get your film financed. And so, And not everything's going to be a sequel, and having that opportunity to create a franchise. No one's going to finance your trilogy out of the gate until you see results from part one. We'd all would love that, of course. But I think the thing is that when you're actually putting pen to paper and looking at what am I going to write today, I think people need to have a certain amount of knowledge of what the distribution strategy is going to look like and what kind of storyline will give me an opportunity for an NFT play. And I think having more knowledge as a writer to understand what that might look like would just give yourself another road to victory to get your film off the ground.
Excellent
These
point.
are great comments. I'm just having a look at some of the questions as well in the chat, and there was a question about sort of mintings and numbers, and that probably touches on another point that, yeah, we can create one item and have, you know, 1,000 mintings of that one item, and then there's other projects which take an inverse approach, and you might have 5 or 10,000 collectibles of each item is completely different to one another, and you know that kind of is a little bit more like the CryptoPunks kind of a thing, and creates unique scarcity that's common only to the actual owner. But I think certainly I think community is key in all of this. At the end of the day, it's in the community's interest to basically back your project. So I'd definitely be trying to build those communities around your NFT project.
No, and I think what you say, Tim, is so true. Is like, and I think that's what we're seeing also in the chat right there is like the openness of people talking, the fans getting together, and just even highlighting. I mean, that's the reason why we even do these panels, is just trying to create this creative community that we're all part of. Some of us more on the writer side, producers side, distributor side, NFT side. We're all here trying to make sure that those stories get told out there. Jen, I saw you, Jen, do you want to talk about, you put something in the
Yes,
chat?
I didn't mean to send it out early. So yes,
No,
ladies and gentlemen, good fortune is ours. That final draft is once again donating for downloads. How wonderful is that? So of their latest software, Final Draft 12, how do you get one of these fabulous things, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, take our survey, and boom, there it is in the chat, our survey link. It's Rick, your mom can totally fill this in. It's going to take 60 seconds or less, unless you do want to fill in nicely.
Probably doing it right now.
Yeah, there you go. Send it to her. Mom, fill this in. So basically say how much you love us, everybody, and want us to keep going. And if you don't, then don't fill in the survey. So ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing community we have. What an amazing group of experts that we get to speak with today. Please tell me we're going to have a part 2, you guys. I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface. So much information. Thank you so much. I got to learn, from soup to nuts. How am I going to be pitching it? How am I going to be talking to the distributor? How am I going to get officially licensed NFTs before, during, and after? Wow. Good fortune is mine today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Yeah, see right here. Yes, part 2 would be great. Yes, please, a part 2. See, everybody is just so delighted to have you here. So Dave, Rick, Tim, Michael, Enid, Writers Guild, everybody, you guys are the greatest. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your expertise today. We are just thrilled to be learning from you all.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
All right, everybody, fill in the survey, get some final draft, and have a fabulous, good morning to you, Rick, huh?
You guys on Twitter and Discord.
There we go. Absolutely.
Twitter, Discord.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. See you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.